Greetings to you, fellow citizens. I know many of you have been wondering as to what happened to my car videos. Now, you wish to know that many things have happened. I've been all over the place to try and put our house in order. And when I say our house, I mean the movement, Ichabache. Now, this morning I just felt compelled to address this one important issue which was making headlines in yesterday's newspapers. Now, in yesterday's tabloids, the Daily Nation, they reported that there is a looming crisis of diesel in the country because the stocks are likely to run out by the 21st of this month. Interestingly, the report suggests that there is a ship that has been cleared to perhaps land in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, by the 21st of this month. Now, in that report, they speak to the issue of this ship carrying crude oil. For those of you who pays attention, Zambia does not have a refinery to refine crude oil. What we had at Indeni was simply a plant or a facility that would be able to separate commingled fuel. Now, these are a bit complex and technical, but you also do remember that when the UPND took over power, they decided to change the policy on fuel to now transform the Tazama pipeline to simply be carrying finished product, meaning that we can no longer transport commingled fuel or crude oil as it may be using the Tazama pipeline. We can only carry a finished product, and this finished product is just one single product called diesel. Now, many of you who have followed me in my submissions, both in Parliament and outside, I have been very consistent on challenging the UPND government on that what I call a flawed decision they made to surrender the fuel subsector completely to the private sector. And I'll keep on insisting even now that there is no way, if we are a reasonable people, if we are responsible people, if we know what we are doing, there is no way a country, a government can surrender an important sector of our economy, such as the fuel subsector, into complete hands of the private sector. You know, the private sector are not your friends. They are not here to do charity work. The private sector are there to make money. And therefore, it is very, folly for a government to surrender an important sector such as the fuel subsector into the hands of the private sector. And I've been very consistent on this matter, challenging the UPND government that this policy is going to harm the country. What we have witnessed over the last couple of years is serious troubles around the fuel subsector in terms of non-availability of the commodities. And here we are talking about different, range, or the different range of commodities. We're talking about the, petrol, which can no longer, of course, be transported via the pipeline. We're talking about kerosene. We're talking about jet fuel and the other products. Now, all these problems we are witnessing are stemming from a poor decision that was made by the UPND to change the policy in the subsector. Today, the reports are suggesting that we are going to have more trouble because very soon there will be serious shortages of diesel in the country. And you do all realize that fuel is like the blood of our economy. Without blood, our physical body cannot function. The same way is how fuel operates in terms of the economy. Without fuel, the economy would ground to a halt. Now, can you now imagine, we already have a problem with electricity. Over 2 years now, the UPND government have failed to resolve the electricity problem. To a point where now it has become normal. It has become normal to see one company closing down after the next because of the challenges of electricity. Over 2 years. the government that says we have done the best over the years. This is a government that says of all the government that have ruled this country, they've done the most in 4 years. This is a government that has failed to resolve the electricity situation or crisis for over 2 years now. Interestingly, this is the same government that has got the appetite to continue exporting the little that we are producing, the little electricity that we are generating into neighboring countries. Imagine a parent who is very quick to feed the children in the neighbor, but leaving his own or our own children in our own house or in his own house suffering. That is what this UPND has been doing over the last couple of years. Feeding the neighbors with electricity. Botswana, Namibia have constantly been supplied, and they can even proudly say we are being fed by Zambia in terms of electricity. Meanwhile, back home here, the people are languishing because of lack of electricity. This is a government, remember, when they were being voted in, that wondered how the PF allowed the challenges in the electricity subsector. And they in fact went on to give examples of how Dubai is sufficiently supplied with electricity when there are no rains in Dubai, when they are in a desert. But these are the people that for 2 years have failed to resolve this crisis of electricity. But today now, another disaster is about to hit our country. As we speak today, diesel is already scarce. It is very hard today to find diesel. It is even more hard today to find petrol. There's serious shortages of petrol and diesel around the country. For those who buys diesel and petrol, they know what I'm talking about. I know that praise singers are going to argue with me. But there is an announcement of an impending disaster that, over and beyond the 21st of this month, we are going to experience worse challenges of the availability of, diesel. Now, when people ask me, what is your policy, or rather, what is your manifesto? What are you going to do for the Zambian people? You are not far from what I tell you every day in terms of what we are going to do as a movement for good governance. For us, everything is dependent on having proper policies that reflects, the daily happenings. And I want to emphasize this point. I don't think that a normal government would have a policy such as the one by the UPND, where you surrender the energy sector to the private players. Interestingly now, we are also heading in the same direction in terms of the electricity subsector. We have seen the emergence of private companies now who are being used to buy electricity, and ZESCO is buying from those private companies. Imagine that. Imagine a government that comes to the people and say, "Isentuchite adjust our tariffs so that we can raise money to import power." But instead of using your state-owned company to go and import power, using the money that you mobilize from the citizens, you allow a private company to be the one to be importing. Thereby, you create a middleman in the importation of electricity. This is your government today, whose only preoccupation is making sure that their pockets are heavy with money. They will do everything and anything at the expense of the common good of the Zambian people, just to ensure that their bank accounts are heavily loaded. You see, and I always say this, dear Zambians, you need to be paying attention to the things that I bring. I have no appetite to just be yapping whenever I speak to you, which is why of late I have remained a bit quiet, because it looks like every time I raise issues, you take it as a video. Okay? Over Binwell Nabapanga video. You do not pay attention to the issues that I bring. Because if we do as a citizenry, we would have been holding this government to account over the many issues that I have been presenting. Lastly, we are not long from experiencing a crisis in terms of food availability. When the UPND government made a decision to export all our maize, you remember how we castigated them. And what happened? We found ourselves in a crisis to an extent where we started running to the same people where we sold our maize to ayamukula ashitapa mutengo ukalamba. Today, because of a little bumper harvest, which is not even, justified, you can't even put the pieces together. We have, of course, we can say we have a bumper harvest, all right, as per the pronouncement from government. Because of just that little window of hope, the government, with excitement, they've opened the floodgates. Bambo kustisha mataba. They say once bitten, twice shy. They say he who does not learn from past mistakes is a fool. And this is where we are now. The UPND can hardly learn from the mistakes that they've made in the past, from the lessons that we have endured in the past. Today, they are excited with opening up the borders to export the little maize that we've collected. Because nobody knows what the rainy season of this year and next year will be. I think that responsible people would have said, thank you, God, we have a bumper harvest. Can we now find means and ways to keep this bumper harvest intact? Peradventure, tomorrow we do not have a good, rainfall. Now, these things, when we talk about them, there are people who think that we hate the UPND. We do not hate the UPND. We just would like the UPND to do what is right for the common people of Zambia. Because some of these experiences we are going through, we've been warning, we've been sending warnings to the UPND. Alas, mumatuyabo mubalibika mubabogam. So I decided to come off my shelf today just to speak to this issue, the fuel issue, and also to tell you that this decision of the UPND government to start exporting maize right now is going to haunt us one day. And mark this day, mark this video. You will remember me, because nobody knows if we are going to have a better rain season this year. This maize that we are now offloading to take it out, we should have found means and ways to keep it safe for the next seasons. Peradventure, anything happens. The best we can do is to wait and see how the rain season is going to turn out to be. If we have another bumper harvest, that is when we can offload the bumper harvest product or produce of this year. But to rush and start to sell the maize out now is completely a misjudgment. And I can guarantee you I'm not a sangoma to predict the future, but this thing is going to again haunt this country. What can I do? My job is very simple. Just to alert you what is going on, and also to open your eyes and ears to what is happening on the ground. This, your government, is a dangerous government because of the decisions and the indecisions they make, and because of their failure to listen to some of us who have been genuinely advising them against some of the decisions they've been making. Already, we are facing almost a potential disaster in the fuel subsector, on top of the disaster we have in the electricity subsector. What can I do? My job is simple. I've delivered the message. It's up to you to dissect this message and make your own conclusion. God bless you.